Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video I will tell you a bit more about how I got a job in the US with all the visa details despite being an immigrant. So if you're curious, please stay tuned.
I know it's like, I don't know, I feel like
Currently, my favorite drink of choice, matcha lattes. As a lot of you know, I was born and raised in Belarus, and when I was in Belarus, I wouldn't say I've always wanted to live in the States, but I definitely would say that I never really saw myself staying and working there, and hence I really wanted to go study somewhere abroad to explore the world and just kind of get different perspectives, be in a different language environment. And so as a result, I ended up going to a university in Canada, University of Waterloo. For that, I obviously had to go through all the hurdles of taking English exams related to the subjects. I had to go through all the visa hurdles also. So I ended up getting a student visa, and it wasn't very complicated. I just had to get all the regular set of documents that is listed on Canadian ECU website. The funny thing though is that I got my student visa a day before my flight to Canada to study in university. And I got the visa for all of the 5 years. And then when I was in university, we actually did co-ops, which means we did internships at actual companies. And for that, as an international student, if I was interning in Canada, I actually needed a separate working permit. So when I got the Canadian student visa, the working permit wasn't there, but the university was super helpful in facilitating in getting that work permit. So it was quite a breeze also. This is a super cute 20th style cafe here in San Francisco, and I just got a cappuccino. So, in my third year, I went to Germany for academic exchange to study at Technical University Munich, and there I obviously had to also get a student visa because I don't have a European citizenship, and that was actually quite easy to get as well. I got that visa for the whole year. I just collected all the documents that were needed for the student visa, and my university actually facilitated in getting that visa also, so again, that wasn't really a very big deal. Currently waiting for Coltrane. Coltrane is a train that runs through South Bay up to the city and vice versa. So I'm going from Mountain View to San Francisco. Prices are about $10 one way, and it would take about an hour to an hour and a half to go, for instance, from San Francisco to Mountain View, and it would depend on how many stops the train takes, because sometimes there are limited and bullet trains which take less stops. And then that's where the US comes into place. I did my third internship as a software engineer in San Francisco, so there the visas were a little more complicated. To come to San Francisco, where I was going on an internship, you have to get an intern visa ideally, which is called J1, and it's considered a trainee visa where you go and you train for a specific profession, you train your specific skill set to then bring it back to whatever country you're coming from. And to get this visa, a company actually needs to pay to sponsor you for that visa, and they need to work with either a law company or have an internal lawyer that will help and facilitate in collecting all the documents that you need for that visa. So fortunately, because I was going to work for Yelp, they have done and have gone through that process multiple times, and they were willing to sponsor that visa. And so for about a month or so, I was in touch with their lawyers and collecting the needed documents to just apply for that J1 visa, and it's usually granted for most 12 months, but I only needed it for 8 months because I was doing 2 consecutive internships. After about a month of going back and forth, coordinating, getting all the right documents, then I got a few approvals with which I had to actually go to the US consulate where I was. So I booked my appointment in the German US consulate and took all the documents that I needed to take. They just took my documents, and then later on I was approved. That was the first time I had to get the visa, and as I said, that was for 2 consecutive internships. Next time around, the process was a bit easier because I already knew exactly what I needed to go through, what documents I needed to prepare. That time around, I was interning with Airbnb, and again, they have gone through the process, and their lawyers knew what to do. So the process the second time around was quite a breeze. And then the third time around, when I got the J1 visa, I actually was getting it for a full-time position. So how the US work permit works, or work visa work. After having done 3 internships in the US, I only had 1 internship left, and I decided to do it in Canada. And for that, I already had a work permit, so there weren't any visa hurdles. And then after graduating, I decided that I really wanted to come back to San Francisco, but unfortunately I wasn't eligible to apply for a work visa that year, because how the US work visa system works is that you can get an H-1B class visa, and to apply for this visa you need to have all your documents ready by April, because the application starts the first week of April. And by all documents, I mean I also needed to have my university diploma, which unfortunately I didn't have yet because I decided to pick up a computer science minor in my last year of university, so I had to actually stay a semester longer. So instead of getting my diploma in spring, I was getting it in the fall. So that obviously took away my ability to apply for the work visa that same year. However, what I could do, and what I ended up doing, is getting another J1 visa, so third one in a row, for a whole year, for 12 months. So I mentioned before that 12 months is the maximum amount for which you can get the J1 visa, and when you graduate from university, you actually have the ability to get the J1 visa again, already having graduated. Not a lot of people know about it actually, but you can get a J1 visa while you're not in university anymore. So that's the route that we decided to go. I again went through the whole J1 process, and luckily I was granted that J1 visa for 12 whole months, with the idea that I will be applying for the H1B visa, the actual work visa, the next cycle, when I will have my diploma, my university degree, and all the other documents in hand. I actually was really worried that I'm not going to be able to get the H1B work visa, because besides having your company able and willing to sponsor you for that visa, and it costs them about $5,000 to file for each individual person to even apply for that visa. The main problem with H1B is the fact that even when you apply, even when all your documents are in place and technically you should be able to get it, actually the visa itself is a lottery. So after you apply, after you've paid all that money and spent all that time, you only have about a 30% chance of actually getting the visa. And I'm speaking for people who only have a bachelor's degree. If you have a master's degree or PhD, then your chances are higher. So for me, for someone who just had a bachelor's degree, the chances were fairly slim, 30%. So if I didn't get that visa, I'm not really sure what I would really do. There is also an option for applying for an O1 visa, which is an extraordinary abilities visa, which I actually looked into while I was filing all my documents for H1B, just kind of to cover my bases. But then in the end of the day, I decided that I'm gonna wait to see what the outcome of my H1B lottery will be, to see whether I had to take any immediate action to basically get a different visa to be able to stay in the country, or again, I would just have to leave the country and find a job somewhere else. So you can imagine it was quite stressful because, again, it's out of your control. You don't know whether you're gonna get it, and you just kind of have to sit and wait. But luckily, I received an approval notice, I think in about June, and we've applied for the visa in April. So I had 2 or so stressful months where I didn't really know whether I'm gonna get it or not, whether I can stay in the country. Yeah, it's not a great situation to be in, but as an immigrant, that's something that you just have to be okay with. I just discovered that Amazon now has physical bookstores, and it's my favorite place on earth. All the books here are front cover facing, which makes such a huge which honestly makes such a huge difference. It's such a great experience to come into the bookstore and then see the cover of the books right away, so that you can feel if you want to read that book or not, as opposed to feeling like you need to take it out and actually read what it's about. It seems like such a simple change, but trust me, it makes the experience so much better. So basically, I received my notice in June, and as you can imagine, it was a tremendous relief that I actually did get that visa, and I was one of the lucky few who got it. But then the process is actually not over. Once you receive your approval notice saying that, okay, we approve you for the H-1B visa, you actually have to go to the US consulate to actually get a physical stamp and an actual real approval that you're able to work in the country and you're able to travel, and you, ta-da, have that visa. I had my interview at the consulate in October. So yeah, you have to like schedule an interview and actually go and hope for the best. And I decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone and do it in Spain, because I wanted to also go on vacation in Spain. And actually the rule is that if you have to make an appointment at the US consulate, you can do it at a third-party country. So it 100% has to be outside of the US, but it does not necessarily have to be in your home country. So I decided to do it in Spain. I came to my interview appointment in Madrid, and after the lady reviewed all of my documents, she gives me a slip and my passport back. And the slip basically says that my documents and my case were put under administrative processing. And she gave me my passport back, which was a really bad sign. I was really shocked, and I asked her, what does that mean? And she basically said that my documents needed additional review, and she's given me my passport back because she's not sure how long it's gonna take, so that I have an ability to still travel. So unfortunately, I can't do anything. Again, this is completely out of your control. You cannot do anything. It's up to the government to either grant you the visa or reject you. I was really worried myself because I had no idea what administrative processing meant. And then after contacting my lawyers and researching it a bit more on the internet, it turned out that administrative processing is just an additional step to review your documents to make sure that everything's okay. And actually, after the recent elections, administrative processing has been happening more frequently, which meant that more people have been put under additional scrutiny to see whether their documents were okay. All of that made perfect sense. However, there was one caveat. You didn't know how long this administrative processing would take. Some cases were resolved in just a week or 2, and some people were stuck not knowing what's going to happen for 6 months or longer. So you can imagine, it was a really stressful situation to be in. For once, I was stuck in the country I didn't really know, and of course now a lot of people always say when they hear the story, oh wow, Spain, not a bad place to be stuck in. But in reality, as much as it was nice to spend an extra time in Spain, it was also incredibly stressful because I didn't even know whether I'll be able to be back in the country, and everything was in the States for me. My job, my apartment, my friends, my boyfriend, everything. Like,
like my whole life is there. So I obviously didn't have much more to do, much else to do than to just wait and be patient. 5 weeks after my interview at the Madrid consulate, they sent me an email saying that my case was resolved and I should send my passport into the consulate. Oh my god, I was so relieved. I was actually in Belgium at the time because I decided to take advantage to visit my friend, my high school friend in Belgium, because I was already in Europe, might as well. And I rushed on the first plane back to Spain and sent my passport to the consulate. It took them about a week to actually process it, stamp the visa, but that was it. I received my H-1B visa and I was so happy and so relieved. Everything was behind me. And again, it's a work visa and it gives you the ability to work for the employer that sponsored you for that visa. You can, however, transfer that visa to a different employer if you decide to switch companies. I'm not really sure how that process works, but it's a fairly common procedure.
Away is a suitcase company, or rather, actually they're a travel company. They don't just make suitcase now. And everyone has been loving their suitcase, so I want to see whether it's worth buying. It's actually really nice. The wheels roll so easily. I'm excited to buy it.
Some tips from my story. It is possible to get a visa in the US. Some things you have to look out for are you have to make sure that your company is able to sponsor you for either J1 or H1B visa. As I said, there are also other ways to stay in the country and get the visa, but that would be completely self-driven, like O1 visa. There is also the student visa. If you are a student in the US, you actually have 1 or 2 years of OPT, which basically is a time period that's given to you to find a job in the country. But I am specifically speaking to those two categories, J1 and H1B, so you need to make sure that the company will be able to sponsor you. You can, however, also start your own company and kind of sponsor yourself, but you would have to look into it more yourself. The process of getting J1 is fairly straightforward and very common. The process of getting H1B is pretty straightforward and common also, but with the caveat that the visa is a lottery, so not everyone gets it. Unfortunately, I have heard and seen cases where big companies scaled down on their hiring of people that do not already have an H1B visa or any work visa to work in the US, because unfortunately recently it's been getting harder and harder to get those visas because, as I said, there is administrative processing that is being put more in place. There is also the lottery quotas that are actually tightening more and more with years. So unfortunately for a lot of companies, when they're not 100% sure whether they will be able to bring that employee on board, it is not as valuable to invest all that money up front to facilitate the visa process for them. So that's something that you should just keep in mind. So again, whenever you interview with a US company or receive an offer from the US company, just make sure that you bring all your visa related questions, concerns ahead of time to them so that they're able to answer them and make sure that they will be able to accommodate your needs.
It's Black Friday, by the way, so this is the perfect time to do some shopping and everything was on sale. Just got these. This is it for me. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe. Tell me whether you have any questions about working in the US and getting a visa here. Leave that in the comment section down below, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye for now.